Most discussion of the role of the composers in Central Europe during the 20s centers around Schoenberg and his circle, who were active in Berlin and Vienna during that time. That's only natural, considering the great importance that Schoenberg has for music in general, and especially the musical history of the 20s. All commentators agree as to the historical importance of the harmonic and structural revolution that he and his disciples carried out. But we mustn't forget that another and younger generation, men born closer to the turn of the century, reacted in quite a different way to the post-war Germany of the 20s. Schoenberg, you know, insisted at every opportunity that his music carried on the long and noble tradition of 19th century German music. He thought of himself as being in the direct line of Wagner, Brahms, and Mahler. But these younger men who grew up at the end of the First World War found themselves in the midst of a very changed Germany, a Germany in a state of moral and economic collapse. In their minds, a new start had to be made. They wanted to avoid old-fashioned Sturm und Drang, to begin afresh, to write a music that had more connection with the hard realities of the life around them. One principal way to react against the main line of German music was to emphasize an anti-romantic attitude, which in their case gave rise to a more businesslike approach to composing. This down-to-earth approach produced an interest in writing functional music for radio, for ballet, for the theater, for films, even for phonograph recording, the opposite of pure and absolute music. The works that really have remained are those of Kurt Weill, particularly his three-penny opera. Weill, with his librettist Bertolt Brecht, created a cross between social drama, musical review, and real live opera. In retrospect, it now is apparent that Weill was able to create the perfect musical image of a hopeless and distressful time. German society seemed to be collapsing before our very eyes. I know because I spent the summer of 1922 in Berlin. Every time I woke up, I was richer than the day before because inflation was rampant. The government was very unsure of what was going to happen next. There was good reason to write grim things. Weill and Brecht took a certain pleasure in defying their audiences. Their work wasn't meant to please. It was meant to shock and upset. Weill's music is both cynical in tone and strangely touching. Why it's so strangely touching still remains somewhat mysterious in my mind, but it's obviously, definitely here to stay. To adequately illustrate Weill's music, one would have to get the impact of entire operas like Threepenny or The Rise and Fall of the City of Mahagonny or Happy End. We can only offer two brief songs, but we have the signal advantage of hearing them presented by the original and inimitable protagonist of Weill's most typical roles, Miss Lotte Lenya. The first is the Havana Song from Mahagonny, in which Jenny argues that her services are certainly worth the price she asks.
Ach, bedenken Sie, Herr Jakob Schmidt. Ach, bedenken Sie, was man für $30 kriegt. 10 Paar Strümpfe und sonst nichts. Ich bin aus Havana, meine Mutter war eine Weiße. Sie sagte oft zu mir, mein Kind verkauf dich nicht für ein paar $Noten, so wie ich es tat. Schau dir an, was aus mir geworden ist. Ach, bedenken Sie, Herr Jakob Schmidt. Ach, bedenken Sie, Herr Jakob Schmidt.
Surabaya Johnny from another Brecht-Weill work of the 20s called Happy End, tells the familiar story of the unfortunate woman whose life is brought to ruin through love of the wrong man, but with a twist and pungency that only Brecht and Weill could give it.
Ich war jung oder 16 Jahre, du kamest vom Burma herauf, du sagtest, ich solle mit dir gehen, du kämest für alles auf. Ich fragte nach deiner Stellung, du sagtest, so war ich hier stehen, du hättest zu tun mit der Eisenbahn und nicht zu tun mit der See. Du sagtest viel, Johnny, kein Wort war wahr, Johnny. Du hast mich betrogen, Johnny, zur ersten Stunde. Ich hasse dich so, Johnny, wie du da stehst und grinst, Johnny. Nimm doch die Pfeife aus dem Maul, du Hund. Surabaya, Johnny, warum bist du so rot? Surabaya, Johnny, mein Gott, und ich liebe dich so. Surabaya, Johnny, warum bin ich nicht froh? Du hast kein Herz, Johnny, und ich liebe dich so. Zuerst war es immer Sonntag, das war, bis ich mitging mit dir. Aber dann schon nach 2 Wochen war dir nichts mehr recht an mir. Hinauf und hinab durch den Punch-Up, den Fluss entlang bis zur See. Ich sehe schon aus im Spiegel wie eine 40-Jährige. Du wolltest nicht Liebe, Johnny, du wolltest Geld, Johnny. Ich aber sah, Johnny, nur auf deinen Mund. Du verlangtest alles, Johnny, ich gab dir mehr, Johnny. Nimm doch die Pfeife aus dem Maul, du Hund. Surabaya, Johnny, warum bist du so rot? Surabaya, Johnny, mein Gott, und ich liebe dich so. Surabaya, Johnny, warum bin ich nicht froh? Du hast kein Herz, Johnny, und ich liebe dich so. Ich habe es nicht beachtet, dass du den Namen hast, denn an der ganzen langen Küste warst du ein bekannter Gast. Eines Morgens in einem Sixpence-Bett werd ich donnern hören wie See, und du gehst ohne etwas zu sagen, und ein Schiff liegt unten am Quai. Du hast kein Herz, Johnny, du bist ein Schuft, Johnny. Du gehst jetzt weg, Johnny, sag mir den Grund. Ich liebe dich doch, Johnny, wie am ersten Tag, Johnny. Nimm doch die Pfeife aus dem Maul, du Hund. Surabaya, Johnny, warum bist du so rot? Surabaya, Johnny, mein